that will kind of vary the size and how many classrooms we end up starting with, ending with, and what the plan is there. One item that came up is the option of paying rent to the post office once they are the official owners of the property. There was a lot of opinions on that. One main opinion was that technically it's not ideal because we're turning a asset into a liability and passing up on a liability where we are currently losing money based on the current lease. So for those that do not know, this last year, based on the lease with the post office, they do not pay us rent. Or, sorry, half rent, correct? They pay half rent for the second to last year of the lease, and the remaining year of the lease, they do not pay us any rent. So then that means our asset will already beginning to become a liability. So obviously, if we're able to take advantage of the new property, find the break-even point, turn it into a profitable asset, then obviously that would be ideal. In response to that as well, the administration, we asked the administration to generate a document to show the revenue and expenditures breakdown of the pre-K classrooms that is already in
underneath the purple.
That is already happening with Dr. Shaleri, Ms. Ronco, and Dr. Portis. They started to construct this. And there's numbers on the lost rent that I was just mentioning. So this year we lost 27,000. Next year we are going to lose 54,000 of no rent. Just like I mentioned, asked about evacuation protocols. We discussed that there are a lot of safe haven sites within that.
Is it okay if I unplug the purple real quick or no?
There are very open facilities that are open during the day, right across the street within the baseball and softball academies, and just options that would be very feasible. We discussed the traffic study if we need that to happen, and that would approximately cost us $8,000. Obviously, the topic of referendum came up. If, when, how. There was some concern about the timing of it. If we are trying to go all in and get what we want from day one, when we would have to start that process versus if we were to have one classroom built, make the money from that, rest, and then slowly evolve from there. I didn't mention any dates on my notes as again, that was all, it was arbitrary, like numbers and dates. There was concern about transportation. We are not required as a district to transport for Gen Ed pre-K students. So that was alleviated some of the concern. Obviously, there would be special ed pre-K. We still require some now. Yep. So Gen Ed pre-K, there's no requirement for that.
Do you hear anything now?
There was a question just about some square footage numbers that we'll get. And then there is, so there's some action plans that came out of this. Number one, again, in its infancy, staffing plan for the building, what that looks like under the circumstance of how many rooms we have right off the bat. What is our plan for outreach in an effort to attract out-of-district students? We said that, we have all this room now. Let's
it's the only one that's giving feedback.
We turn this loss into a profit. There was some, there was a lot of mention, nothing concrete, but obviously a plan that needs to happen about our potential 18 to 21 program, which is very much needed over, in the area, especially the fact that special ed numbers have increased so much over the years that a lot of these classes, these graduating classes are, getting to that age group. So that is something that we hope to be able to house, which again would be a revenue driver. And I think that pretty much covers it without having to get into any, again, because it's pending contract, negotiation, and all that good stuff, left all numbers at this. Anybody have any questions about that meeting?
Is there someone we can go to read the notes again to really digest? And I know that we have a document of questions and stuff.
I have that plugged in like that.
Oh, sorry. So in back of the two documents, one is not my minutes. I could clean those up and put those there. Mr. Gibbs' notes are in there from that meeting, as well as that Google Doc that we all contributed to, and answers were starting to flow in. I think there's a few unanswered questions, but for the most part, it all kind of like relates to something we spoke about in general.
Okay.
And in addition, oh, I'm sorry. In addition to that, I was going to mention this in unfinished business, but because we're on the topic, myself, and I'm not trying to speak for you, but Ms. Ikea, myself, and Dr. Cordes, we did visit the site. I wasn't able to visit the site on the first go round. I think the building's phenomenal. I think I think the answer checks like every box. So I was very happy to finally see the property and alleviate a lot of kind of concerns that I may have had.
I'm sorry, I think I misheard. Did you say in backup?
I'm sorry. Wait.
It's not in backup.
It's not a backup. It's in today's minutes folder. That's right. I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry.
Can I just make a couple comments?
Yeah, hit record.
That was great.
Just a thought, just my opinion, I think that when we're looking at this financially, I think we should, or the district should seriously consider putting at least a supervisor.
I tapped on
I'm not saying principal, but putting a supervisor there because
microphone on the camera,
there's
but
no way
it doesn't like show me
our
the
principal could
there's
be. And
volume going
you'll
on.
have, I'm anticipating this will be a bigger program.
Like,
Also,
if I tap
if
it,
you
the
were
green
to get
should
the
be, like, very
PA
high.
funding,
Nothing.
the supervisor is mandated, but the cost is covered. As for transportation, if we were to get the
yeah,
PA
the
money,
Joby,
which I know right now.
the
that's
same
financial, but I'm
setup
just
we used
thinking
the past
ahead,
twice, the
and it's-
past two times.
let's say, so transportation, if you offer courtesy transportation to the rest of your district, you do have to offer it to preschool as well. And that
Yeah.
requires booster seats.
Yeah.
And all of that. Now, when you're talking about
Want me to
special
unplug it?
education and transportation, it's really not, you have to meet certain requirements within a district. It's not something that's given. Frankly, it's really only given to someone who has physical impairments. So that's neither here nor there. But I'm just kind of giving them like a little, as you were speaking, that was coming to mind. And I'm really happy you like the building. I absolutely love it. I think it has a lot of potential and could do a lot for our district.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, I can speak to the supervision aspect. We're doing an initial run of either one or two classrooms. We wouldn't have a full-time administrator there. The good thing is we'll have an additional office, known as Progress, they set it up there quite frequently. Dr. Schlitter would be the nominal principal. I
Okay.
expect her to actually be present there. But you'll have me on site with it, Nancy on site with it. You can also have supervisors rotating the building. But there's somebody full-time, with one or two classroom people for that. But if it grows, we'd like to see that happen. If it'll be staffed more fully as if we're a school in full as opposed to a floor that's operating as a school.
All right, Mr. Boomer, this is a really good, accurate summary of what we talked about, so well done.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're gonna move on to policy. Mr. McSweeney, please move policy.
Yes, I'd like to move out P14-25.
Second.
Any question or discussion? All right, Mr. Gibbs, please call the roll.
Mr. Bloomer?
Yes.
Mr. Cerisi?
Yes.
Mr. Gittin? Yes. Ms. Ikea?
Yes.
Mr. McSweeney?
Yes.
Okay, is absent. Mrs. Shenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Esposito?
Yes.
And Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Cerisi, please move the item number O.
I would like to move other O09-25.
Sorry.
Question or discussion? Nothing good. Mr. Gibbs, please call the roll.
Mr. Bloomer?
Yes.
Mr. Cerisi?
Yes.
Mr. Gittin? Yes. Ms. Ikea?
Yes.
Mr. McSweeney?
Abstain.
Mr. Pompeo is absent. Mrs. Shenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Esposito?
Yes.
And Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up is Board Effectiveness Committee. Mr. Gibbs, would you please give a summary of our meeting and then also move to Board
Yeah,
Effectiveness?
so the Board of Effectiveness Committee met last week. We discussed setting up a new calendar essentially for future board members. And that calendar will kind of outline when members need to complete compliance matters and things of that nature.
We're going to meet again very soon to put together the final product. But it's really just to have future board members like 20 years from now, and all of us are on except for Sam. So that's really what it kind of is. And yeah, we're going to meet again, I think, next week to get the final product together. But that was really not a glamorous as Mr. Boomer's report, unfortunately. Oh, and it was me, Mr. Gideon, I'm Mr. Gideon, Mr. Senate, Ms. Ikeo, and Mr. Pompeo, and Dr. Porter. And with that, let's move BEC 1-25.
So second. Question and discussion? Mikhail, second. Okay, Mr. Gibbs, please call the roll.
Mr. Bloomer? Yes. Mr. Cerisi?
Yes.
Ms. Dempsey?
Just read the statement of compliance.
My apologies.
How weird.
Mr. Gideon? Yes. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pompeo? Ms. Ikea?
Yes. That's me.
Mr. Pompeo is absent. Mrs. Shin?
Yes.
Mrs. Esposito?
Yes.
And Mr. Sonny?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, before we move on, Mr. Gideon, good job as well. Exactly what we talked about, and a little comic relief, perfect. Next up is public comment. Members of the public may speak for a maximum period of 5 minutes on the clock during this portion of the meeting. The public may speak on any topic during the 5 minutes. If a member of the public raises a question, direct the question to the board president and state your name and sign in before you begin.
Don't forget you have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes.
My name's on the agenda, you know who I am.
Don't forget, you have 2 minutes.
Megan Dempsey, Mountain Plains, former board member. It's good to see you all, and see that you're still packing the house, love it. I wanted to congratulate all the schools on a great Read Across America week. Actually, as a former board member, I discovered that you no longer get invited to come and read, which was very devastating to me, but since I happened to have bookshelving duty at Hillview that week, a very special person snuck me onto the schedule, so I got to go in and read to a 4th grade class, which was awesome. I did not get applause from them, so I guess they had used it all up on you, but it was still lovely. I have watched a couple of the previous board meetings, and I do want to say that I'm very excited to see the plans moving ahead for preschool, even though that's going to be an enormous undertaking, a big financial commitment. Dr. Curtis knows it's one of the things that I repeatedly talked about when I was on the board, and it's very exciting to see it potentially coming to fruition. I know there's been discussion about possibly needing a referendum, and so, you know, definitely reach out to community partners and organizations that can assist with getting the word out on that if needed. And I'm sure there will be many of us that will be willing to step up and help out with that. I do wonder, and I apologize if this was discussed during the budget discussion at the last meeting, which I did not have a chance to watch, with the incredible uncertainty around funding from the federal government, and particularly as it relates to special education. Is that something that we have been talking about, that we were planning for? Do we need to make big plans for potential reductions in that? I know there's, I think the preschool aid hopefully is more of a state funding that we're looking for. I see you nodding yes, that's great. You know, but definitely there are federal funds that are on the chopping block, and hopefully that's not actually going to happen, but you know, if we're looking to expand preschool, I'm sure that's going to affect our numbers of students coming in for special education needs at that age, and it's a little scary to think that we're not going to have the support we need for them. So, and then the last thing I just wanted to ask about was, I saw on the agenda for tonight the approval of the contract continuing with the Boys and Girls Club for aftercare services, and it occurred to me way too late that last year we had discussed doing an RFP for aftercare services, and that would have been happening in November, I think, when I was still on the board, and I didn't realize until after I was off the board that we never talked about it to my knowledge. So I'm just curious if that's something that is still being discussed for going forward, and sending that out to RFP again to see what kind of options are out there for aftercare services. Thanks.
Thank you.
No, definitely. Oh, no. It's better.
basketball. Well, good evening. My name is Michael D'Amico. Some of you know me. My concern and questions about the SAT prep course. Just go through the high school. We received notification a couple of days ago that my son made a wait list. My wife inquires to the wait list, and why? Because when she received the email, she basically filled it out immediately and sent it in. Then the response we received told us that even though it said first come, first served, there's other criteria to ensure fair and equitable process, the student's eligibility for Title I funded programs, NCLSA scores, and grade level. And I asked my wife, asked what the parameters were, she got no response. The response was, he registered 86th. Now, understanding that just not my son in general, SAT prep courses, is something that's not offered for our whole entire township. Other school districts, whether it be private or public, have SAT prep scores offered to their students throughout high school. It's part of their program. It's part of their curriculum, in essence. We have a Panther period that kids go to at the end of school every day. Why don't they just offer once a week SAT prep course there instead of having it on a Saturday? Because it seems to me we're doing a disservice to all the juniors and seniors in this township. Because if you're going to offer it on a weekend, why cannot it be offered during the week? When they're in school during credit period. Now, well, my daughter is being recruited throughout the state to play basketball in different districts. Every district that she went and visited, whether it be public or private, had an SAT prep curriculum. They promoted. They said, we have this. These are our average scores for our students in our district. They basically say it's because of the prep course that they offer. Our kids, we have to go to private and pay thousands of dollars. I did it for my older daughter for an SAT prep course. But it's something that should be offered through the school system. So I'm just trying to figure out this prep course that we have now, why, I think they said 30 or 35 kids can fit into it for that purpose, when there's a couple hundred kids in the high school that need it. Why we don't limit it to 35? And why it's not part of the curriculum in the school system that can be offered during your Panther period? Because the kids can go home or they can go to Panther period. I'm telling you now, every parent's down here. You're going to SAT prep course on Wednesday. You're going to SAT prep course on Thursday because you're offering it. It gives them an opportunity to do so. So I'm just inquiring about that. Someone has an answer for me, that'd be great. What the parameters were for the curriculum for the SAT prep course that we didn't find out about, and why it's not offered in the school system. That's part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Dr. Corey's answers, we are going to look at the RFP for before and after care, but it's going to be next year, obviously, because the time's passed already, so that's the answer to that.
Thank you, Sharon. So just to go over these questions, which I appreciate. I share the excitement for the pre-K plans. And as far as the uncertainty regarding future funding from the federal government, so far the assurances we've gotten is that whatever happens to USDOE will not impact special education funding. So for where we see the greatest impact from the USDOE, which is both Title I and in special ed, what we've been told so far is that it will not be a concern. Looking ahead to future budgets, we'll have to pair around whatever contingencies might exist or might emerge. But for right now, we're good. And then Mr. Senek already answered about the Boys and Girls Club. And as far as the SAT course, this is something that I'll say I'm a huge proponent of. It's actually, when I first started knowing about this district, is when I used to offer private SAT courses. So this is something that's pretty near and dear to me. For this year, we had Title I funding, and we figured the best way to use it was through an SAT prep course at the high school. Based on funding and staffing, we were able to offer 40 students, and there are certain parameters for Title I eligible students, and we had to make sure that they had priority since that was the population for whom the funding was to be allocated. We were fortunate to be able to extend it out to more students. As far as I know, it was, I believe, a breakdown of 18 and 22 students. We don't, say, oh, this student's is from Title I, this one is not, but they're all mixed together. as far as making it part of our regular high school instruction, I do want to see this become part of our regular operations, and it creates a great opportunity for that, because we want to create a mindset and a culture where kids, families, and staff members value the importance of preparing for this assessment. And when I was a teacher, you say, I don't teach them the test, and I would remind them I actually teach them tested skills. And it's really important that the skills, that the skills that are present in the SAT need to be imbued into other coursework as well. So what I'm doing in the social studies class should be preparing me for the language arts portion of the SAT. It needs to be that type of overlap. I'm going out on a bit of a tangent from what you were actually asking about. But this is something I'd like to see integrated into not only our instruction as a standalone, we're able to offer a program, but also to make a concerted effort to help kids be familiar with the types of questions they're going to see, the types of reading skills they're going to have to be able to apply. And a long way back to it, the parameters were defined by a rubric that students whose eligibility was determined for Title I based on various test scores. I believe there was a grading aspect that I'm not positive. I can get back to you on that after a conversation with Ms. Vansco. But moving forward, I would like to see us be able to do this as a summer program. That was something as a private vendor I was able to do for a number of years. And it's helpful if we would get kids in who were going into sophomore, junior, senior year. Sophomores and juniors was very helpful for the PSAT. If somebody tells you the PSAT doesn't matter, they're incorrect. Your name is on it, therefore it matters. And then we'd also get a big number of seniors as well, because they're making that last push. And now that there's an SAT available in August, that push over the summer becomes a little bit more defined. But I'll look for some clearer answers to any questions you might have had. And I appreciate you bringing it up too, because I wasn't expecting the amount of interest that we got from our school community for the classes, and I'm pretty enthusiastic about it. And I'm not trying to celebrate the fact that there are a lot of disappointed kids and families, but I'm excited because I feel like our community's hungry for this, and now it's up to us to deliver.
Just so you're aware, some parents told me that when they went to a log in, fill out the form, they closed, instead of closed out. That was within the day.
Yeah. So that's something that I'll follow up. I'll work with. I know that went through the guidance department, but I'll find out more about how that went down. But I'd like to think of something like this as a call to action. So what can we do to be better at what we offer? And it's a really important test. And the skills that kids learn in there aren't just limited to the SAT. The ACT is almost identical, but also to any other type of assessment, whether it's AP or other multiple choice assessment. There's tremendous carryover there too. So this is something that I definitely care about. It's telling. I have a lot of background in this stuff. We'll get better.
All right, thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. Does any board member have any unfinished business? How about new business? Any board member announcements?
I have a few. So last week, definitely one of my favorite weeks of the year with Read Across America. I was able to get to all 3 schools this year. Being back in Hillview was great. Allowed me to see the mural that I was waiting to see. It was amazing. I was also able to see the new painted paw prints, which is it was a fundraiser that in lieu of the old pavers that were out in the front entrance. So I got to see my daughter's class paws. But I would like to thank Mrs. Wilk at Hillview, Mrs. Warner at SJG, and Mrs. Lucera at North Boulevard. They were very welcoming. The kids were great, and something I learned about our, our special ed program in North Boulevard, Mrs. Lucera's class. They had to come early, 8:30, because they were going on a CDI trip, and I had no idea what that was. And so I think it was only 6 or 7 students. Mostly one-on-one aides, great group of kids, and community-based involvement. Is that what you instruction? And I just thought that was absolutely amazing. I spent like 10 minutes with kids talking about like what they were doing, where they're going. And that day, the spot was Walmart. They were going to go to Walmart. They had a scavenger hunt list to go up and down the aisles and pick these items. And I was just blown away. I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was so funny. I was excited about it. To them, it was just like another Wednesday. It was so funny, but it was great to hear. Just learn more about the program, just because I didn't get to live it. March 6th, I attended the Unified basketball game. Again, another amazing event that we hold in this district. I do think we probably did not advertise as good as prior years. The crowd was not as big, but this wasn't about the crowd, it was about the kids on the court. Again, they think they're playing in Madison Square Garden, so it was an amazing event. I want to thank all the volunteers who were, reffing and doing the announcements. Mr. Sika, of course, made the most of his announcing, and Mr. Zuma was running up and down the court. So again, great event. Thank you for having that program grow. And last but not least, I just want to congratulate Jake Van Barrett on making Eagle Scout. He's actually one of the first Eagle Scouts where I actually know the family really well, which is why I'm calling it out. I reached out to the family right that afternoon because my schedule took a turn for the worse and I was not able to make the 2 p.m. ceremony. So I did reach out to congratulate him and his amazing accomplishments. That was my last 2 weeks, pretty busy.
I was able to attend the Eagle Scout ceremony for Jacob with Mr. Senek. I learned a lot about the Boy Scouts. I didn't know much about the organization walking in, admittedly, prior to, but what I thought was amazing was they gave us a lot of history, and there was a program there, and I think Jacob was the 92nd out of Pequannock, which is amazing, just huge numbers. And as I started to flip through some of the other people, I'm recognizing one name, and then another name, and then another, and I'm like, how do I know all these names? They're all firemen with my husband. So it just goes to show you that the service is truly integrated in them. It's not something they drop after Eagle Scouts. It's in their heart and soul. And not only that, a lot more, like I said, EMT and first responders here in town. So just amazing. Jake gave a hilarious speech. He was fantastic. So kudos to him. I also got to read to 2 elementary schools last week. I read to Mrs. Rubino's class where my son was. Awesome, and just tiny anecdote. I read them a book about a bear losing his first tooth, and then I had follow-up questions like, what's something you're scared of? Because the bear was scared, and one of the kids said haircuts, and then everyone was like, oh my god, me too. And I'm like, wow, can you imagine this that age? Just really, that's your biggest fear. And then I got to read at Hillview to a 5th grade class, total polar opposite. And I happened to be walking with Dr. Porter, so I got the 50-cent tour of Hillview from him. Just a beautiful building. I echo the sentiments. Nero was great, and thank you, Dr. Porter, for the tour.
Yeah, I'll go quickly.
He was very distracted.
How do you apply?
He was very distracted. He kept telling people the standing ovation story on the way. He told at least 6 people on the way.
I got the sense that they wanted to know. It was a big deal.
Very important for Dr. Forrest. Last week I attended the state hockey semifinal game at Benton. Pequannock Festival for compliments. I don't know if Dr. Porter's covered this in the beginning. He might have been talking about hockey, I don't know. When I was walking in. Great game. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out as we probably wanted it to for our boys. But they started off well, they scored first, didn't end that way. But it's worth noting that this team, both for Westmoreland and Pequannock, went farther than any other team in the history of their school. 1 game away from getting into the Prudential Center. And it was nice to see a number of middle school players there out there supporting the high school students. So good showing by us, and see what happens next year.
Okay, I just wanted to thank Gordon and team for all the hard work, all his hard work completing the budget. An announcement, we will be wearing blue for autism on April 7th. Don't worry, I will send out a reminder. But the night before, we will be wearing blue or some type of autism shirt. Thank you. As that is Autism Awareness Month. I attended the Portrait of Graduate thing today, meeting today. It was great. We got the feedback from the surveys, as Dr. Flores was saying, so we were able to break them down a little bit more, got a good picture of what the needs are, what the wants are, and how our kids are successful. So I thought it was great. I feel like it's kind of all coming together now. I feel like it's like a bigger, the bigger picture, but smaller, like we're really honing in. There's obviously a lot more to come. Mr. Hazler was very tech savvy with AI today, so that was impressive as well.
And it's not pertinent to what we're discussing here, but I got a notification that the audio on Zoom is not working because our mixer crashed, but we are recording, so if anybody were to view the recording, there is audio to that because Aldo's recording through the camera, but our mixer unfortunately picked the wrong time to crash.
All right, I just had one announcement. I got to read to Mr. McNulty's house, Mr. McNulty's class at North Boulevard last Friday. My son is a member of that class. It was my second time doing it. Very, very good experience, and looking forward to do it again next year. A little sad that it won't be my own kid, but either way, great experience, and thank you. All right, we do have a reason to go into executive session tonight, where we will discuss student matters. No action will be taken, and we will adjourn from there. Our next meeting is April 7th here at the high school. And before we adjourn, I want to wish Mr. Cerisi a very happy birthday for Monday, and all of Pequannock a very happy St. Patrick's Day. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session.
Again.
All in favor? Any opposed? Good night, everyone.